Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 4, want to presentation about what should go on the curriculum. And the member is first Aprilia Helmiyati, name 8320190184. The second Shevia Fitriana, name 8320190196. The third is Aidha Rahma, name 8320190198. Then the last Paradita Alda, name 8320190199. Introduction. The difference between rival curriculum theories run deep and the prospect of anything resembling a consensus of philosophical opinion in this area remains, for the time being, remote. Few have paid much attention to the concept marked by the word curriculum and the accounts produced by those who are broadly similar. Curriculum simply as a plain program of learning. We shall do no serious injustice either to ordinary usage or to the tacit assumption of those whose curriculum theories we shall be discussing. What should go on the curriculum? Curriculum is a plain program of learning. It follows that the range from which the content of curriculum must be drawn is the range of what human being can be acquired by learning. At all events, on our ordinary conception of learning, it would, I suggest, be impossible to suppose that someone could have learned something if he had not, in the same sense, acquired new knowledge, whatever form that knowledge may take, and it may of course include skills as well as factual knowledge. Hamlin, 1973, page 180. To support of this view, at least we learning that something is the case in equivalent to coming to know, that is the case, and learning how to do something is equivalent to coming to know how to do it. Not only in the area of professional learning that the proposed connection between learning and knowing look shaky. Watson argues that there are many things we learn to do which do not appear to involve the acquisition of any sort of knowledge. But what sort of thing have I come to know in these very many cases where I have clearly learned to do something, yet have not acquired any new professional knowledge? It is natural here to rely on the much canvassed notion of knowing how, but there seem to be clear counter-example even to this. Wilson's own proposal is that the class of what can be learned include both the things human beings can know and the various ways in which they can exercise control. He said that learn means unequivocally something like acquire knowledge or control by paying relevant attention. Wilson, 1979, page 74. Some virtues, to be sure, are plausibly characterized as form of self-control. Courage and temperance, for example, clearly have something to do with controlling oneself in the face of powerful fears and appetites.
Some virtues, to be sure, are possibly characterized as a form of self-control. Courage and temperance, for example, clearly have something to do with controlling oneself in the face of powerful fears and appetites. Learning to be compassionate or just is not obviously a matter of coming to know something, but neither does it seem to be a matter of acquiring self-control. However, enough has been said here to indicate that the range from which the content of the school curriculum must be selected is a good deal broader than is often supposed. The academic curriculum. According to this theory, the basic components of the school curriculum should be academic subjects or disciplines. The primary responsibility of school is to initiate children and young people into forms of theoretical inquiry. Why? The classic and most fully articulate justification of this view is the one offered by R.S. Peters in his seminal books Ethics and Education, 1966. Peters' justification rests on two claims. The first, that initiating people into theoretical activities is just what the word education means. And the second, that theoretical activities are worthwhile. The first claim is defended by analysis of the concept of education. Peters declines to offer a definition of education, but instead identifies a number of criteria to which a process must conform in order to qualify as educational. The upshot of his analysis is that an educational process must involve initiation into these differentiated modes and a touch and awareness that are characterized both by a content or body of knowledge and by public procedures by means of which these contents has been accumulated, criticized, and revised. Peters, 1966 p. 50. It must, in other words, involve teaching and academic disciplines. This conceptual claim will not suffice to justify the academic curriculum, for it remains open to those favoring curricula of other kinds simply to give up the word education. That is why Peters needs to advance and defend his second claim, that theoretical activities are worthwhile. Theoretical activities are those activities that have truth as their end. They are worthwhile, says Peters, because the truth is valuable, and he sets about proving the value of the truth by means of two transcendental arguments. A transcendental argument is one designed to show that its conclusion is presupposed by or is a condition of the possibility of some widely accepted kind of experience, judgment, or practice. What Peters contends is that a commitment to truth is the presupposed by a serious engagement in a practical discourse. Peters, the transcendental argument, picks out the different logical connection between engagement in practical discourse and a commitment to the truth. The first, the person was seriously asked why do this rather than that, must, in order to answer her questions, find out what this and that involve, and second, the fact that a person is seriously asking a practical questions show that she has already adopted a certain kind of attitude toward life, and the kind of a curriculum for which Peter argues is, of course, precisely the kind of a curriculum currently found in a British school. The formal education of most British children, indeed, of most children in the world consists very largely of initiation into theoretical activities. But there are some serious problems with Peter's defense of the academic curriculum. Take first the conceptual claim about education. Contrary to what Peter says, it appears that the word education can be applied to a wide variety of a programmer of a teaching and learning without contravention of the rules governing ordinary usage. John Wilson argued possibly that the strongest conclusion conceptual analysis can yield is that education is going on when human learning about the natural level is being deliberately promoted in accordance with some general or overall policy. Wilson, 1979, p. 33. And this clearly leaves open the question of what should go on the curriculum. Peter's transcendental arguments have attracted a number of criticisms, the most important of which is that they merely divert the justificatory problem from why we should value truth to why should seriously ask practical questions.
John Klaten writes, "It only trivializes education if it is argued that a commitment to certain activities deemed to be educationally valuable is presupposed the justificatory question. For such an argument does not tell us why education is justified except in the sense that is necessary to answering justificatory question. What is needed is an account which will display for us the importance of justificatory question. The worry here it is that the transcendental argument do not amount to a justification. They logically connect commitment to truth with serious engagement in practical discourse, but they do not explain why we should go in for either. The vocational curriculum, the most familiar alternative to the view that the curriculum should comprise forms of theoretical inquiry, is the view that it should comprise the forms of practical activity by which young people will, in due course, earn a living. According to defenders of the vocational curriculum, the first task of school is to equip children and young people not with expertise in academic disciplines, but with the skills, understandings, and critical capacities they will need in their professional and everyday lives. Richard Brink writes, for any young person assistant with how to live one's life, in which the sort of job one does play such a significant part, is the most important of all educational experience, clarifying the style of life judged worth living, identifying the training and work what will enable one to live that life, questioning the ends or value embodied within it, acquiring the necessary skills and competencies. Argument like Brink's effectively undermine the suggestion that vocational education cannot be intellectually ambitious. But this is not the only sort of objection one can advance against the vocations or occupation pupils are to prepared for. Many young people end up choosing careers other than what they have prepared with their education, or if they are restricted from pursuing careers that are suitable for qualification, they will feel so betrayed by the education that they lose their vocational choice. This was John Stuart Mill's view of the matter. Men are men before they are lawyers, and if you make them capable and sensible men, they will make themselves capable and sensible lawyers. Them from a university is not professional knowledge, but that which should direct the use of their what professional men should carry away with professional knowledge, and bring the light of general culture to illuminate the special pursuit. The purpose of pre-vocational education is not to prepare young people for particular occupation, but to equip them with the information they need to make intelligent occupational choice. So, Christopher Winch writes, pre-vocational education is concerned with two sub-aims. The number one, the preparation of young people for the understanding of work and the economy. are in this sense it is an extension of cultural literacy. Number 2, through the provision of kinetic vocational programs which give the opportunity to make more informed choice about contemplating entering an occupation or going into an apprenticeship or further education at the end of the compulsory phase of schooling. The aims of imparting a general understanding of the economy and of enabling young people to make informed choice about work are unexceptionable.
The aims of imparting a general understanding of the economy and of enabling young people to make informed choice about work are what worries critics of pre-vocational education is the suggestion that these things are best achieved through generic vocational programs. Pre-vocationalists are perhaps too ready to dismiss the potential demic curriculum to deliver the desired outcomes of economic understanding and informed choice about work. Wins claims that the pre-vocationalist differs from the modern liberal in that the former is much more prepared than the latter to spell out what the choice involved in making plans for a future life are, and what the means to attaining them are. While the modern liberal is more inclined to think about ends in an unconstrained way, as if the future adult will be an isolated person of leisure. The virtue-based curriculum. A different sort of challenge to the academic curriculum is the one posed by defenders of what we shall call the virtue-based curriculum. According to this challenge, the problem with Peter's position is not much that he is wrong to regard theoretical activities as worthwhile, as that questions about the worthwhileness of activities are the wrong ones to be asking. The question with which we should begin when constructing the school curriculum is rather, what sort of people do we want children to be? And the kind of answer to which this question giver raise will not be list of worthwhile activities, but list of personal qualities or virtues. Let us set the first of these contentions to one side and look more closely at the second. Are virtues the sort of things it is possible to teach, and are schools the right place in which to teach them? I see no reason for skepticism about the teachability of virtues. Teaching in this context is simple, the deliberate facilitation of learning. And as we have already noted, virtue must certainly be continued. Virtues must certainly be counted among the things that can be learned. The more interesting question is whether we can reasonably expect them to be learned in schools. Some philosophers of education are doubtful about this. Graham Haydon, for example, argues that there is a strong case for concentrating on what schools can do best, which is to teach things of a broadly cognitive nature. Cultivating virtues, he thinks, is one of the things schools are ill-equipped to do well. Despite the recent attention given to the development of virtues as an educational aim, It is by no means clear how the aim is to be pursued or how far it can be achieved. Too often, there are only rather vague references, the ethos of the school, the example set by teachers, and the good character of teachers themselves. And this might be relatively small influence in a child's life. Science, in speaking of the development of virtues, we are speaking of a person developing a certain mindset, which is more than cognitive, which also involves some of the person's deepest desires and feelings. We have to wonder how much teachers can do. Schools and classrooms, one is inclined to think, are necessarily inimical to the expression and exploration of the emotions in relation to which virtues are developed. They are too public, too formal, and too regulated to be appropriate sites for the bearing and shaping of souls. What advocates of the virtue-based curriculum owe us, then what they have conspicuously failed to provide is an account of the sort of classroom activities, lessons, and courses by means of which the desired virtues are to be cultivated. Topic-based or integrated course, various practical activities, periods of free private study, wider groupings such as the arts rather than music, visual arts, and literature as separate subjects are all in the ring. The suggestion here is that shift from knowledge-oriented to virtue-oriented education might be effected by experimenting with topic-based and integrated courses and wider subject groupings, but this seems implausible. The usual argument for moving away from discrete subject to interdisciplinary and thematic work is that the understanding is fragmented by artificial boundaries between subjects. The idea that curriculum theorizing should start with the question of the sort of people you want children to be has adopted intuitive appeal. But the virtue-based curriculum remains severely compromised by the failure of its defenders to set out persuasive account of what it might actually. Conclusion: we note at the outset that there are deep differences of philosophical opinion on the question of what should go on the curriculum. What will now be clear is that this is, in part at least, a consequence of the fact that all the leading curriculum theories in philosophy of education are vulnerable to rather compelling objection. Notwithstanding the considerable quantity of philosophical ink split on the matter, satisfactory answers to the most basic normative questions about the curriculum are yet to be advanced, and the need for further philosophical work remains pressing. Okay, I think enough the presentations from our group. If you have question, please ask in WhatsApp group Philosophy of Education. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.